Okay, we're going to call the session of the Urban County Policy Board meeting to order. The time is now 9:34, and we'll go ahead and start with introductions.
We'll call all of the board members for roll call, and then we have a ton of guests this meeting for the presentations, and we'll let them introduce themselves as they come to their into their presentation.
Good.
We will start with City of Battleground. We have Mark Hersig.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Hersig, City of Battleground.
For the City of Camas, we have Jim Hodges.
Good morning, everyone.
For the City of La Center, we have Tracy Coleman.
Good morning.
For the City of Ridgefield, we have Mayor Cole.
Good morning, everyone.
For the City of Washougal, we have Joe Walsh.
Good morning.
And that is who we have present for our Urban County Policy Board members as of present. For staff, I'm Rebecca Royce, Program Coordinator. Michael Torres.
Good morning, Michael Torres, Clark County Community Services.
And Noreen Ibrahim.
Noreen, Program Assistant.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the January 13, 2025 minutes. I would accept a motion to approve the minutes.
Can alternates make a motion to approve the minutes January 13th?
To make a motion to approve the,
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
This is Tracy in La Center. I second.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, we're going to take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to presentations in Q&A with the 2025 CDBG and home applicants. Rebecca, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Today we are doing the presentations for all of the applications that were received for the CDBG and home funds. Applicants have been advised to focus on the application itself, not on their agency. There's only 5 minutes for the presentations for all of the applicants except for the tenant-based rental assistance applications. I'll do an overview of TBRA for the board and then give an overview of what their applications are. And then you'll have time to ask the TBRA applications questions, but they won't be doing individual presentations. Board members have time for all of the questions or all of the applications to ask any questions that you might have come up with during the presentation, or if you've had a chance to start reviewing the applications themselves. And with that, our first presentation is going to be the Battleground Northeast Grace Avenue pathway with Mark Hersig from the City of Battleground. Mark?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Hersig. I'm the Public Works Director with the City of Battleground. This morning, I'm going to present our Northeast Grace Avenue pathway. Next slide. I'll do a outline of the presentation as I'll do a quick vicinity map, an overview, basic information about the project, the objectives, our request, the schedule, and then leave time for questions. Next slide. As you can see, Northeast Grace Avenue between Main Street and 6th Street. It's just west of our Fairgrounds Park and Community Center and east of Parkway Avenue over on the east side of town. Next slide. We're proposing to essentially fill in the gaps in the sidewalks on Northeast Grace Avenue. It's one of the last arterials we have in the city that doesn't have a complete sidewalk, at least on one side. So we're proposing to fill the gaps between Main and 6th Street. Next slide. So some basic information. The city classifies the street as a minor arterial. With this project, we'd construct approximately 735 feet of asphalt. The project would serve 1,040 low to moderate income residents. The right-of-way for this project is owned by the city, and the work includes constructing an asphalt path and then any associated improvements such as stormwater and ADA improvements. Next slide. Our objectives are to provide safe and accessible walking and biking from the city's central neighborhoods to Old Down and Fairgrounds Park Community Center for the neighborhood's residents, to serve low to moderate income residents and be ADA compliant. Our ultimate desired outcome is children and adults not having to walk in the middle of the street. Next slide. So our CDBG request, our engineer's estimate for the project is $300,000. So we're requesting 150, which would provide a city match of 50%. And we're requesting funds for construction only. The city will fund the design portion of the project. Next slide. Our schedule, the project will start after award by the county. We think design will take approximately 4 to 6 months. During that time, we'll work with the county to get the agreement approved after environmental impacts are fully known. The advertisement will take about a month to 2, and then construction should be fairly short, about 4 months. Next slide. So I am finished and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, board, any questions for Battleground on this one? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and keep moving then. Thank you.
Mark, we're going to keep it with you, and we're going to move on to the Remy Park Improvements Project.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone. I'll be presenting our second request, which is the Remy Park Improvements. Next slide, please. Very similar outline to the last. I'll look at the vicinity and overview, basic information, the objectives, our request, our schedule, and then lead time for questions. Next slide. So you can see Remy, it's in the yellow there. It's part of an overall wetland mitigation bank. The bank is in red. The yellow part is kind of the remaining area, park area. It will serve the larger area in blue. It's just north of Scotton Way between 503 and 20th Avenue. Additionally, the city is working on a project that will connect those northern neighborhoods to the park, and that's shown kind of on the east side of 20th Avenue there. Next slide. So there's kind of 2 main components with this request. Those are not to scale, so don't assume they are, but there'll be a covered basketball court. It will include benches for people to sit. And then because there's no street parking in this area, we'll have a small parking lot for anyone who drives there. Next slide. So basic information, the city classifies this park as a neighborhood park. There's approximately 3 acres of usable land. The park will serve 930 low to moderate income residents. Property is owned by the city, so no additional right-of-way or property is needed. The proposed work includes constructing the covered basketball court, including the benches, and then constructing the parking lot. Next slide. Our objectives are to provide a safe place to play for the neighborhood's residents, especially for the children. There are currently no park facilities in this neighborhood. Serve low to moderate income residents and be ADA compliant. And ultimately, desired outcome is residents will have a place to play in all weather, which is beneficial to both physical and mental health. Next slide. So our request for this project, we believe the overall project will cost about $800,000. So we're requesting $400,000. Again, city providing a 50% match. We're only requesting construction funds, and we'll fund the design for the project. Next slide. Design for this project is currently underway. Ultimately, we'll work with the county to get the agreement approved after the environmental impacts. Advertisement will be towards the end of 25, and construction for this project should take 5 to 6 months. Next slide. Then questions.
Okay, thank you, Battleground Board. Any questions for Mr. Hersig?
I have a question. This is Tracy with La Center. Can you share with me what % of the population in Battleground is low to moderate income? Just if you have that, if you know that.
I don't know off the top of my head. I know in this particular area, it's slightly over 50%. For our overall city, I don't have that percentage off the top of my head.
That's fine. That's what I was just wondering. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Battleground?
This is Rebecca with Clark County. Mark, if we were only to fund one of your projects, which one would you prioritize?
The council selected that when they picked these projects, and they selected the Remy project.
Okay, great. There's no other questions. We'll go ahead and move on. Ms. Royce, what do we have for the next presentation?
Our next presentation is the Clark County 701 East Main Street Building Improvements. Michelle Schuster?
Good morning. So I'm Michelle Schuster, the Director of Internal Services, and with me today I have Marissa Ryan Smith, who's our Finance Manager, Deanne Cordes, who is our Contract Administrator in charge of this contract, and then Anna Bikova from CMAR, who is our representative for CMAR here today, in case there's any questions afterwards. Next slide, please. So just a little history. Oh, sorry, next one. Just a little history about the building. This building was purchased in August of 1993 with a community block grant by Clark County. The original purchase price was $350,000, of which $200,000 was cash and $150,000 was in-kind donations for the land. In 2009, Clark County General Services, which is now Internal Services, entered into a lease with CMAR for the property. And because this is a community block grant, we are unable to charge rent. And so our maintenance budget is very small on this property each year. And so there is a lot of deferred maintenance and major and capital maintenance that is outstanding. Next slide, please. And this is just sort of a picture of the building I'll be talking about today, so you can reference. And this is located out in the Battleground area. Next slide. So a little bit about what CMAR is doing in this building. So they are a community-based organization committed to providing quality, comprehensive health, human, housing, education, cultural services to diverse communities, specializing in Latinos. The WIC program is located in this building, and WIC is free to all that qualify, and it is based on income guidelines defined as less than the 185% of the federal poverty level. In this building, they are providing services for families, including supplemental healthy food, support for pregnant people, breast and chest feeding parents, infants, and children under 5. And they offer classes, one-on-one counseling, support, and education. They also offer the CMAR Maternity Support Services, which is covered by Medicaid. And all clients who are eligible for Medicaid and have a Provider One service card can also get those maternity support services. Next slide, please. So this building has a number, as I said, of outstanding repairs and major maintenance. And that includes roof, siding, trim, and soffits, which are all cracked and rotting, exterior lighting issues, exterior siding issues. Next slide. Next, please. There we go. Interior walls, interior carpet and vinyl flooring, interior ceiling tile damage, restroom toilet damage, and parking lot asphalt and curb repairs that need to be done. And the next couple slides are going to show some of the actual conditions of this building that we're hoping to improve for them. And so this one really shows how the roof, siding, and trim have started deteriorating on this. We've got a lot of leaking, a lot of water stain, a lot of rot. And so these all need to be replaced. Next slide, please. This really shows the condition of the roofs and some of the window trim and soffits. And so as you can tell, the roof is well past its life and in need of repair and replacement. And next slide. And this shows some pictures of our parking lot. As you can see, there's lots of cracks, potholes, divots, the water damage you can see on the interior roof in the building. So like we said, there's a lot of deferred maintenance because the county just doesn't have a budget to do repairs for this building. Next slide, please. So what the county is requesting is $400,000 to help accomplish as many of these projects as possible. We would start with the new exterior siding and the roofing, feeling those are the most two to keep the structure stable, and then move on if possible to windows, exterior doors, new wood flooring inside, new drywall, new ceilings, and then should we have any money left, we would move to the replacement or reconstruction of the parking area. We don't think with $400,000 we'll be able to accomplish that, but we're hoping to present to council and get some matching funds to maybe do some of the additional work like the parking lot and also some of the just routine maintenance items that can't be covered with this grant. So this, hopefully, if we can get this money, would be able to support this building and continue the use for CMAR with this building for another 20 to 25 years because it would fix the structure of it. And this building helps support 1,200 to 1,300 clients per month at this location. And so it is really important to keep this building going. Any questions?
Jim, with the city of Camas, what's the county's match amount for this project?
We don't have that committed yet at this time. What we're definitely hoping to get is the architectural and engineering is what we'll be going to council to definitely ask for. And then, like I said, we also want to get some more funds to hopefully do the parking lot because I just don't think the 400,000 and then some of the routine maintenance items on the building also. But at this time, we don't have a full commitment yet.
This is Tracy with La Center. Can you tell me what the county's plans are to set aside funding for routine maintenance in the future, where they're going to obtain that funding and what % they're going to set aside for routine maintenance?
Yeah, so like I said, I've gone to past councils, not the current council, a couple times, and we have been denied funding. We have approximately $5,000 in our current facility budget, which we use each year, and that typically goes to things like changing light bulbs, filters, the legalese type stuff, the fire alarm inspections. So we're really hoping to get some, and it is a new council. And so hopefully they will commit to some funding as opposed to past council. So we have not been able to get that funding commitment from.
Can you tell me why it was denied? What was the reasoning in council why they have denied funding to maintain one of their buildings that's being utilized?
So the only qualifying source for this would have been the general fund, and the general fund has a lot of competing priorities. And so the years that we requested, this just did not trump up to the high priority for those councils.
Great, thank you so much.
Sir, can you clarify if you did receive funding, but you did not receive council approval for the match? Would you just continue with the portion you outlined for CDBG funds?
Correct.
Okay. And again, I think you had a slide on this, but just to confirm, how many low to moderate income residents does this serve?
1,200, 1,300 per month is what they're currently serving at this location.
And those are all county residents?
Yeah, mostly North County, and Anna, I believe, is on and can maybe speak a little bit more about her clientele. Anna, are you on here?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Bitikoff. I'm the new WIC coordinator for the Clark County, and I oversee the Battleground site as well. And yes, that site serves just the Clark Battleground residents and surrounding areas, is monthly between 1,200 to 1,300 each month.
Got you. Thank you very much.
This is Chuck Green, City Bridgefield. Question, has there been an asbestos or lead paint assessment done on this structure before the work begins?
We will have to, we always do that as a county property. we do have some records, but every area we touch, we do additional testing to make sure before we do go into any in-depth remodeling like this.
And would that assessment come out of the $400,000 budget, or would that be part of the matching?
It's typically part of the architectural and engineering, so it's usually part of the matching funds. We don't usually have that as part of the project funds. It's more the upfront architectural engineering work we do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, board. Any other questions on the county's request? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on then. Let's go back to you, Ms. Rice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next presentation is Ridgefield Maple Street improvements. Chuck Green.
Chuck Green, Public Works Director for City of Ridgefield. I'm here to present our priority project. That's Maple Street from Main to Railroad Avenue in downtown Ridgefield. Go to the next slide, please. We have a history of completing and undertaking CDBG projects in the area. Most recently, the Sargent Street was awarded last year's process. And then prior to that was G Creek Loop, which is working toward being out to bid this summer, June-ish, provided we can get through the environmental assessment process, which is now underway. For this project, Hull and Elm was another project that was awarded in a recent subject. That one is now under design. Let's go to the next slide, please. Current conditions, what we have is a really narrow street. There is no sidewalk for the westernmost block. There's an existing sidewalk for the block from Main to First, and that would connect. The sidewalk in this project would connect to that sidewalk and provide an accessible route to Main Avenue. There's no real stormwater facilities in place right now. It just runs into the grassy area and runs down toward the waterfront, and that would be corrected with this project as well. Next slide. Here's the project area. It's 2 blocks in downtown as it approaches the BNSF Railroad on the left side of this, and then Main Avenue on the right side, which is our main north-south connector between downtown Ridgefield and the Ridgefield Wildlife Refuge. Next, please. What this project would do, as I mentioned, we really don't have any good stormwater drainage facilities in place. This would improve that and provide a place for water to run off and be treated before it heads toward the Lake River. Would place an old water line along the street, extend the sidewalk, and then as part of the pavement restoration, restore that pavement with a new surface and include new fire hydrants to upgrade the fire access and response abilities of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. This is a map showing our income service area. We did go to approximately 27 households, which represent about 60 to 70 people in the directly benefited neighborhood. There are other neighborhoods in the area that would get some benefit by having that accessible route out to Main Avenue. Ridgefield, just to answer, I know Tracy's question is going to be of me. Ridgefield does not have any census tracts that qualify for low-income eligibility through this program. So we do have to do an income survey for each project neighborhood as we go through and get that approved by Housing and Urban Development before we can proceed with that survey. Next slide, please. So this summary of our project, 72% below the income threshold, does provide a connection north to the Richville Wildlife Refuge, south of downtown. Project total cost, including design and environmental process, is 1.4 million. We're requesting 400,000 in CDBG funding that would go toward construction. That's about a 71% local match. Our local match comes out of dedicated funds. That would be the water, storm, and transportation benefit district programs. If we do get funding awarded, we expect to begin the environmental design process in the fall with construction anticipated in 2026. Next slide, which I believe is my last slide. That is it. I will end my presentation, return to Rebecca, or to the mayor, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Board, any questions for Ridgefield on this project?
I'm just going to say well done and way to answer my question. Good job.
I always like being proactive with you, Tracy.
Don't worry, I know my turn's going to be coming sometime.
Always good to hear. Anybody else questions for Ridgefield? Okay, seeing none, we'll go back to you, Ms. Royce.
Thank you. Our next presentation is from the Vancouver Housing Authority for Bertha's Place Shelter Remodel. Grace Dudley. Grace was having some technical difficulties with her mic. We're going to see if we can get that to work. Grace, we're going to skip to the next presentation. And then if you can call in, we might be able to get you through that way. Our next presentation is from Washougal for the Sidewalk and Stormwater Improvements Phase 1. Joe Walsh.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Good morning. I'm Joe Walsh, Community Services and Strategy Director for the City of Washougal. I'll be providing the presentation today, but also with me to help answer any technical questions. We have Jason, and I think Scott's going to be joining from our Public Works team. Next slide. Our project is pretty straightforward and similar to some of the other projects. We aim to construct sidewalks and stormwater improvements throughout our Addy neighborhood, where there are currently several gaps. The Addy neighborhood is one of our census qualifying census tracts. It's younger, more diverse, and significantly lower income than the rest of Washougal as a whole. There's about 1,250 folks living in this project area, about 1,000 of whom are in the low to moderate income band. So the photo here was taken actually a full day after a rainy day. And as you can see, there's significant pooling, which we see often in this neighborhood, with no sidewalks, no stormwater management. And that, of course, exacerbates the mobility issues that we have here. Next slide. So a few reasons why we chose to submit this project. One, our city adopted a 5-year strategic plan in 2023 after a robust year-long community engagement and planning process. And citywide sidewalk infill was one of those goals that we heard from our residents that elevated to the top of to be included as one of our goals for our strategic plan. As you know, sidewalks are expensive, and so we're looking to chip away at that sidewalk infill goal in our strategic plan, and looking for grant funding and looking for opportunities such as this infill project in the Addy neighborhood to achieve that strategic plan goal. We're also taking a phased approach to this project that I'll explain a little bit later on. Next slide. This is kind of the zoomed out view, citywide view. You'll see the Addy neighborhood in that red box in the southwest or southeast part of town, which is again located in one of our CDBG eligible census tracts. Next slide. And then zooming into the project location, the red lines here show all of the streets where sidewalk and stormwater improvements are needed. So it's A, B, 33rd, 34th, 35th. Next. For this first phase, circled in green, is where we're proposing to start with CDBG funds if awarded. And our plan is to actually start with an environmental assessment for the whole area, all the area in red, so that we can kind of get that out of the way. It'll be more efficient that way, so that, of course, contingent on securing future funding, we'd be able to knock out the rest of those segments a little bit more efficiently and quickly. Next slide. This slide just shows some of our previous CDBG projects in the area, including sidewalk connections that would link up with the sidewalks in this project. So that horizontal yellow sidewalk project along Addy was completed with prior CDBG funds, and this first phase would connect the neighborhood to that existing sidewalk, which leads you to public transit and eventually to our park, where we're also wrapping up another CDBG project. And then up in the kind of the top left, that other segment of sidewalk was also a prior CDBG sidewalk project. And as we sort of work our way with this phased approach to the north and to the west, it would eventually link up to that CDBG sidewalk. And ultimately, the goal here is to have a completely connected, accessible, ADA compliant neighborhood that connects from 32nd all the way through the neighborhood into our park and to the public transit that runs through there. Next. That concludes the presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, board, questions for Washougal on this one? Quick question from me. I see the request is for $400,000. Is there a match the city is going to be putting forth on this one?
Yes, good. Thank you. I didn't put that in the presentation, but the city is planning to match $60,000, which is our estimate to cover the environmental assessment, not just for phase one, but for that whole project area.
Thank you. And then this is just for that phase one you outlined, not the whole area?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, we can move on. Thank you.
Grace, are you able to call in now? I believe if you *6, it will unmute a call-in user.
Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you now. Great. Let me go back to your presentation and you can start in just one moment.
I apologize for the technical difficulties. Thank you all for working with me.
Let's see. I went too far. Okay, there you go. I'm ready for you. Just let me know when you need to advance the slides.
Perfect. Yes, please advance. So my name is Grace Dudley, and I'm a development project manager with the Vancouver Housing Authority. I'm here today to ask for $400,000 in county funds for a renovation project at Bertha Kane Bow Place, also called Bertha's Place. Next slide, please. So Bertha's Place is a 62-bed emergency shelter that serves women, couples where the head of household is a woman, and seniors 55 and older. Households are limited to 2 people. VHA purchased this building in 2021 and completed a small interior renovation project at the time, but it's been several years and there are now some needs at the building exterior. So the full scope of work that we're proposing is included on the cost estimate that was submitted with the application, but the highlights include a roof replacement, new windows, and new siding. We're also exploring adding solar at the project, and we will be doing an elevator modernization under the project as well. Next slide, please. In terms of need, this project addresses the capital needs of the building that will ensure the longevity of the building. VHA is also utilizing property reserves for the project, but we're requesting county funds to offset the cost in order to maintain a small amount of reserves for the project. Completing the renovation project will extend the useful life of the building envelope, which will expand the timeline for serving homeless households. The work will also increase the energy efficiency of the building, which reduces operating costs. Next slide, please. I do want to note one small correction. The total here should read 2,961,893, matching the uses on the side. So I just want to, excuse me, point out, along with reserves and county money, we're also showing a small contribution in VHA general funds. This amount is for the solar design and install, which if we pursue that install, we would be reimbursed under the WSU Community Solar Expansion Program, which provides funding for the entire cost of the solar install. And there is an application process, but we've completed that before, and it's a really easy program for us to access. The bulk of the cost of the project is construction work, but additional uses include the design fees, a 10% owner's contingency, which is typical for this level of work. And then other development costs include the general contractor's insurance and bonds, as well as permits and materials testing. Next slide, please. So because this is an exterior renovation, the timeline is primarily driven by the weather. So it seems like it's a long time in advance. It's just because we need to take advantage of the non-rainy season. We're not able to conduct this work this year because our public procurement rules extend timelines for architecture and GC procurement. So the current timeline has us releasing the architecture RFQ next month and awarding a contract in June. We have 6 months to complete design work for the project, but it might not take that long. And our sealed bid for the GC will go out in January 2026. We expect a construction contract to be awarded in April 26 and construction to start in May 26, with construction happening over a 5-month period. You can go to the next slide, please. So that is kind of the overview of the project, but I'm happy to answer any specific questions that folks might have.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Dudley?
This is Chuck Green with Bridgefield. Question on the cost estimates. Are those prevailing wage based estimates?
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Great, other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. We can move on. It looks like this concludes the facilities and neighborhoods portion of the applications.
Correct. We'll move on to our asset and economic development applications. Our first one is Evergreen Habitat for Humanity. And I believe we have Leanna Fabian. Is there anyone from Evergreen Habitat for Humanity available? Okay, we will move on to the next presentation. If we have time, we will come back to Evergreen Habitat. Our next presentation is Fourth Plane Forward. Do we have someone from Fourth Plane Forward, Paul? Doesn't look like we have anyone from Fourth Plane Forward. We'll move on to the next presentation. If we have time, we will come back. I'm sorry? All presenters were requested to be here at the beginning of our meeting. So if we moved forward quickly, we could move on to all of the presentations. And we're notified that if we had to skip their application, we would come back to it if there was time. Our next presentation is from the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber, Nicole Leon.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Perfect. Good morning. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Davis-Leon, and I'm the Executive Director at the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber, here to talk to you all about empowering economic growth and development for Clark County. Next slide, please. The Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber, and I'll skip this slide, but really what I like to highlight here is that we're a community-based chamber, so a little bit different than your other chambers. So that's why our work is programmatic work and why we're here to submit this grant with you all. Next slide, please. The need in Clark County, we see that the Hispanic community is 15% and growing, and the fastest minority in Clark County. Our work really focuses on asset development and wealth building. And we know that even though the community is one of the fastest growing in Clark County, the Latino community still faces barriers to funding, lower wages, and limited access to business resources. That's why we are proposing our small business, micro business technical assistance for small businesses, as we have been doing for the last 6 years in Clark County. This will hit and support the many barriers that our Latino community faces. We know that building wealth through small businesses is crucial, not only to the businesses and the families that are serving, but also to the overall economics of Clark County. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Our team is composed of bilingual, bicultural individuals that are able to help businesses at all stages of life. Our proposal includes these key services to support businesses at no cost to them in Spanish and English to business owners, from dream stage to startup to expansion to exit plan. Really businesses come to us as, I have 7 ideas, how can I pick one? All the way to succession planning and closing businesses or valuing their current business. You will see here that some of our services do include strategic planning, marketing assistant, projections, and helping with the regulations of permitting. Next slide, please. These are some additional services that the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber is able to provide outside from Clark County. So for businesses that do go through the Clark County contract, we're also able to support them with government contracting, business networking events. We do have twice a month workshops that happen to businesses. We just had one last week regarding asset protection. We have digital literacy and just in regular overall building a network of entrepreneurs in Clark County. Next slide, please. I have a small video and I don't know if we have time to go through it, but I'll say go for it now. This is one of our clients that was supported by one of the Clark County contracts in 2024. I am not sure if you all can hear it on your end. Okay, we can pause it, Rebecca.
Okay.
That's okay. We know what's going on.
It does have captions, I guess.
Ha sido un trato excelente profesionalmente. Yo prácticamente así la verdad, de un 10 yo creo que se llevaría el 10. Mi nombre es Vicente Castillo, soy dueño de Halcón Insulation. Nos especializamos en insulación. Si necesitas un servicio, puedes contactarnos. Aquí abajo estará nuestra información.
Well, thanks for going through that video. I know it was a little choppy, but we just like to make sure that people, really to share the story behind businesses and show the humanity behind our small businesses. Halcón Insulation is a business here in Clark County that we were able to support from startup to permitting to now referring with other clients. And next slide.
Terminar de
And I just wanted to share that this work is not done alone. The Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber works with helps partner with other organizations that support our work. So with that, thank you all. Any questions?
Board, any questions for the Hispanic Metro Chamber?
This is Tracy at La Center. Just real quick, can you outline again the specifics of the funding, where it goes to? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that fully.
Yeah, so the funding goes specifically for staffing. There is some professional services as well for workshop and such on. We are requesting from the city 137,000 with a match of 71,000, and this provides us 1.5 technical assistant advisors serving about 40 households with one-on-one assistance, and then about another 50 businesses that assist in workshops and so on.
Thank you.
Great, board. Any other questions? Okay, wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. We'll continue on.
Next presentation is for Micro Enterprises Services at Lori.
I'm not seeing Joshua available. We'll move on to the next presentation, which is Upwards. Kat Fuentes.
Good morning, Urban County Policy Board. My name is Kat Fuentes, and I'm the Director of Government Partnerships at Upwards, a major government collaborator and community program administrator. Next slide, please. Upwards is the nation's largest childcare network, partnering with municipalities at all levels of government to address the childcare crisis at the local level. We represent over 150,000 female-run, minority-owned microenterprise childcare providers nationwide, including 13% of all providers in Clark County, which are commonly known as in-home daycare providers. Despite their importance to the economic framework of our communities, these businesses average about $19.83 an hour in Clark County, qualifying them as low to moderate income. Statewide, childcare workers fall in the bottom third percentile of wage earners, below dishwashers and animal care providers. So this is the value that we place on their services. Still, with the odds stacked against them, they are the primary childcare option of choice for working families, typically because they offer lower tuition options, they provide the most geographic variability, and they deliver non-traditional hour service, which aligns with all types of work schedules, particularly low to moderate income families who need it most. Next slide. I'm sorry, we're 2 slides behind. That was the slide I just presented on. The next slide. Ironically, as is the case in many places across the country, there is a massive capacity gap in Clark County, with 84% of all children under the age of 5 unable to access licensed care, leaving tens of thousands of families desperate for a solution. Without reliable childcare, families, especially mothers, struggle to fully participate in the workforce. For single parents, the challenges are even greater. Next slide. The good news is our Boost program is a proven model that helps solve both ends of the childcare crisis. Boost is a full-service, technology-driven operational solution for childcare providers geared towards providing business and technical support on a wide range of administrative functions. The goal of the Boost program is to equip low to moderate income childcare providers with personalized coaching and digital tools to optimize their operations and revenue. Next slide. So how do we do this? Our Boost team uses a 3-prong approach. Each childcare provider is paired with a dedicated care specialist, essentially a business coach who works with them to create a custom business strategy to help them reach their personal business goals over the course of the year. Our Boost care specialists have over 15 years of experience in early childhood education, licensing, and even lived experience of running their own successful daycares. The team is multilingual in various languages, and all training materials can be translated to ensure equitable access to the program. Next slide. The care specialist will help guide providers through Upwards' childcare management system that is designed to streamline their entire operations, boost revenue, and improve the quality of care. This proprietary software includes a family matching algorithm, as well as marketing support, enrollment automation, electronic billing, curriculum management, enhanced safety monitoring, and much more. You can see how the goal of this second prong is to digitize and automate a provider's entire operation, giving them time back in their day to focus on operational expansion and improved quality of service. The final prong includes guiding owners through tailored curriculum built by and for childcare providers, teaching them how to run a more successful, sustainable business. By leveraging technology, providers now have the time and the resources to learn and put that learning into practice. Next slide, please. With $240,000 in funding, Boost would be able to bolster 30 in-home daycare providers and help create 9 teaching assistant jobs, which would expand access to affordable quality care for hundreds of working families in the community. I should note one of the advantages of the Boost program is its scalability. Scaling up or down will not compromise the quality of services. It just means reaching more or fewer providers based on available funding. Next slide. Again, Boost is a proven model that will help the micro enterprises retain and create childcare jobs, increase their revenue, increase their capacity, and improve access to quality care for families. These are the 4 program objectives you see on the slide. Very few programs have the potential to impact so many direct and indirect beneficiaries with things like job stability, housing affordability, higher workforce participation, gender equality, reduced generational poverty, and much more. This program services a huge need in Clark County for providers and for families. Next slide. But we can't do it alone. We need partners like you to help us expand our reach and amplify our impact. We've launched the program in nearly 20 counties and cities nationwide, including the city of Bellevue, Washington, which is about to launch its 2nd year. In 2024 alone, we partnered with dozens of municipalities to support over 220 providers and create 129 new jobs, far exceeding all projected outcomes. With your support, our team can tackle Clark County's childcare challenges by strengthening who are most at risk of closing without immediate assistance. And the last slide is just my contact information. Thank you for this tremendous opportunity to support the hardworking childcare providers and families in Clark County. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Ms. Fuentes. Board, any questions for Upwards?
What's your grant request again? How much?
The grant request is for a total of $240,000.
And no match with that, right? This is just a straight request.
We provide in-kind support on the program, which means, the cost to actually support these providers is somewhere around $12,000 per provider per year. We obviously don't request that amount of money. So there is a lot of in-kind support that's provided by the company, as well as we provide all of the non-personnel costs, the cost for technology, office supplies, support, all of that stuff.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Seeing none, we can move on to the next presentation.
Thank you very much.
That was the last application for the asset and economic development on the schedule, but we do have Leanna Fabian now from Evergreen Habitat, so we'll go back to that. Leanna?
Hi there. I apologize. I was not here on time for the first time I was called. I was having a little trouble getting in, but I appreciate I can squeeze in here. Cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Leanna Fabian. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Director of Grants and Resource Development for Evergreen Habitat for Humanity. Next slide, please. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I did want to point out that Evergreen Habitat for Humanity's mission is to bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope. We do that through a lot of different avenues these days, but our major program is our affordable home ownership program, which is what I'll be talking about today. And we have been providing housing solutions here in Clark County since 1991. Next slide. Thank you. As we all know, we have housing challenges here in Clark County. As the Clark County Community Needs Assessment pointed out, housing assistance was listed as the one of the top 3 needs, with 80% of survey respondents identifying it as a need. And then among those that did respond with a housing need, 63% identified affordable housing specifically as a top need. And as we know, Washington State has a super high housing wage, the 5th highest in the nation, excuse me, and it takes an average of $33 per hour for a person to afford an average 2-bedroom apartment here in our community, or they'd have to work 92 hours a week at minimum wage in order to afford. So the housing landscape looks dire for folks of low to moderate income, and those challenges are compounded typically for BIPOC families. Next slide, please. So Evergreen Habitat is looking to build more affordable housing units, so creating more units here in Clark County. So at this time, we are in conversation with a faith group in Clark County outside of the limits of the city of Vancouver to purchase property from them to build affordable homeownership opportunities. And within that affordable homeownership program, Evergreen Habitat serves families up to 80% of the area median income. And we are able to design mortgages to be affordable to not exceed 35% of a family's income at the time of qualification for a home. We do serve a large population of BIPOC families through homeownership. And as of the past couple of years, all of Evergreen Habitat's homes that we build are permanently affordable. So we do use a land trust model so that Evergreen Habitat retains control of or ownership of the land itself, and families purchase the house on top of that family so that we don't lose that affordable housing asset for our community after the duration of a 30-year mortgage. They can only ever be resold to another income qualified family. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we are looking to purchase a piece of property from a faith community. I'm not allowed to name them just yet, but they are looking to sell us a little over an acre of land. We're looking between 1.25 and 1.75 acres, depending on what their congregation decides that they'd like to give up. We've done a little bit of due diligence on the site so far, and based on design and engineering, it could allow anywhere from 8 to 38 units. I know that's a huge spread. 8 to 12 would be your typical unattached single-family homes, all the way up to 38 if we were looking at cottage clusters, similar to a project that we are doing in Vancouver now, where we're looking at, we're just about to start infrastructure on a 32-unit build. So the purchase time for the property is flexible. I know there's some due diligence we would need to do with these funds, including an environmental review. So towards the end of this year, we'll be finishing up our talks with the faith community, and then hopefully a purchase at the beginning of 2026 for home construction to start either late 2026, early 2027. And then, of course, because of our permanent affordability, this is a one-time investment that leads to the permanent affordability for generations. And one thing I did want to point out, as far as further investment in this project, we do have some funding from the Ed and Dolly Lynch Foundation to support the purchase of this home. I don't think we're looking probably more than our $300,000 request to purchase the property. Hopefully not too much more, but we do have some funds secured to support that. But further funding, because the project is so far out, we don't have further secured funding for the home building just yet. But we are constantly fundraising, and we have our Habitat store. Thank you so much. I'm ready for your questions.
Great, thank you. Ward, any questions for Evergreen Habitat? Just point out, great presentation. Somebody else said this earlier, but it's always good when you answer all the questions along the way.
I appreciate that. I hit it right on 5 minutes, so I'm so glad to hear that.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me sneak in since I didn't get here at my first call. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Leanna. I don't see Joshua or Paul yet at this time, so we could move to the scheduled break. for 10 minutes?
That
Fantastic.
works. We'll take a 10-minute break. Resume at 10 or 10:45, we'll say.
Call-in user 2, do you mind? Is this Marina Vare, Councillor Vare?
Okay.
Yes, I just want to make sure we get you
Okay.
noted in the minutes. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Hopefully I remember the name. I'll remind you, but I'll remember that.
Right? Thank you so much for stepping in. Typically, if the chair and the vice chair in the bylaws, it states to go to another control.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then if not, then it's, basically as long as we're recording.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Fine. And Jim, remember that stuff? We didn't have a chair, vice chair, like.
No.
It's
yeah.
Jim around longer.
You probably works for city canvas.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just got another minute.
And my 30th anniversary next month.
With the city, 35.
That's
We need to find first. So okay, try to punch yours.
This year?
yeah. That's what I want.
He traded guys.
No, I didn't know. They say that, yes.
Yeah. Right. Now we're gonna have we're gonna be competing for candidates.
That's right.
Yeah.
So is it 30?
No, Pete's been gone for a long time. Pete's,
No, who is it now?
so
Sorry.
Steve Wall.
Steve Wall, thank you.
So over 10 years. Which is fun. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fun to see.
I was. And you don't want the job? For 2 years and then retire. As soon as I get y'all trained up for the Urban County Policy Board, then you're out.
Be there.
Steve.
Yeah, he's very.
Council's kind of changed. For those who are here with their presentations,
Yeah, those are not taking them. See
They
them.
just don't use that, but we still score
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not gonna take. And we sent them an email. So Miso, Joshua with Miso is here. And so is Paul. So we'll go back to those two.
Yeah.
We warned them. Next year, we'll just do 2 minutes of questions. If it goes a little bit longer and you guys have more questions, we obviously wouldn't stop any questions, so.
Yeah.
5 minutes total. So most of the presentations tonight.
Yeah.
They try to keep it extra.
We only give people 3 minutes.
Yes,
Generous.
we are very generous here. But I put a note down. I think I put a tour around with these two bus tours. We didn't even get the structure.
I missed the bus tours.
You like them?
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
So we take half a day or so and we actually work.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Right to bus. Would start somewhere.
Yeah. They give their presentations on site essentially, or?
Exactly. Yes.
But when so we stopped in the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And then there was kind of a consensus that they liked doing more of a presentation style. It's hard to schedule. And the cost.
Sure.
Just like
4 hours.
And yes, we pick up coffee and friends, which is on staff now.
Have you heard of C-Train on that? Or is it?
No, private. So we used the same one that something. So we had the same bus driver. So he knew, he was like, oh. Yeah, it was just one of the coach style ones.
Yeah.
small ones. So
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Can he pass? So I guess it.
yeah, you can request them. I mean, they've shown up. Yeah, we've done C-Train every year. That's been fine. It's been great actually to have C-Train do it.
Do you go to multiple places?
Ours is just around Bridgeville, so we take our party board. So, and we do like development tour, like show every all the developments so that as we're making considerations for, future projects that we have sort of same kind of deal. Could really affect those.
Sure.
I was gonna say, I don't know if they charge us.
I think it's worked out, we don't have it.
Charles, you get a meeting like this.
Yeah, you never know what cities. And usually like halfway through. So a lot of times whoever we started with.
Should be the rule.
Yes. They get back to school.
Yeah.
yeah, the thing that I miss about it was just the networking and talking about different strategies for getting money and where to get it and what works best, for people and stuff like that. So it was just, it wasn't just we show up, we kind of do our business. So you get these conversations that are really pretty valuable. Kind of had to cover up. Last time we had them, Steve Stewart was. Part of the council. Council. Yeah, can.
Yeah.
Still a little bit, it's not like a huge.
Yeah, I know. I'm out of that.
It's just totally.
We'll get started here in about a minute or so. Okay, it's 10:45. We'll resume again as soon as Ms. Royce, you're ready. So at your convenience.
Yeah, technical difficulties. It's not wanting to go back. We're going to go with fourth plane forward. Paul, if you're ready, give me just one moment and we'll get going. All right, you can go forward. Fourth plane forward.
Lovely, great. Good morning, everybody. Paul Burgess here, Executive Director for Fourth Plane Forward. Thanks very much for the opportunity to present this morning. So I'd like to talk about our CDBG request. Do I just ask you to move the slides forward? Is that, yeah? Okay,
Yes, please.
great. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, yeah, so you'd like to, next slide. So just to give you a brief background on Fourth Plane Forward, we're based along the Fourth Plane Corridor. Our mission is accelerating equity for our community. We are a place-based development organisation, have been in place since 2018. And we are a small group. We've grown exponentially, though, from a small organisation of 1 to an organisation of 15 over the past 3 years, and have very much embedded ourselves into the community, not just along the corridor in Fourth Plane and the city of Vancouver, but a much wider county presence now than we have had previously. And that's sort of tantamount to a lot of the work that we've been doing with the great staff team that we had. When we're talking about CDBG, we've been really building out our CDBG programming over the past year and a half. And I'd just like to share some of that programming with you now. So next slide, please. So over the past 12 months or so, we've been doing a lot of Business Connect workshops. This is one of our bread and butter events that we hold every month in the Fourth Plane Community Commons. So we've been doing different events, sort of the food permit workshops, business taxes workshops, talking about other things like marketing and how to start your businesses, and a number of different events. We've had 16 in-person events, about 106 business owners attend those, and they've not just been from the city of Vancouver, but from across Clark County as well. Next slide, please. We also run a very successful BIPOC business incubator. We put 3 new businesses through that program. They work with our commissary kitchen here at the Fourth Plane Community Commons. We provided them with $15,000 worth of grants, and they've been very successful since the inception of that, and have been doing very well. Next slide, please. We also have a great team. There's a dedicated team of 3 or 4 different staff members who are all bilingual, speak Spanish, and we've been doing outreach across Clark County to over 300 businesses, and we've put out $60,000 worth of business grants. And our dedicated staff team, and we hold job fairs here. We do business events at the Fourth Plane Community Commons, and we have great outreach across Clark County. Next slide, please. So our CDBG ask for 2026 is going to look at 6 different things: our Business Connect program, Business Academy, our Business Support Scholarships, Spanish GED and IDAs, and really delving into business and coaching and mentoring, and our partnership and stakeholder engagement. Next slide, please. So our goal for the Business Connect is to continue our events, but we're going to do some pop-up events across Clark County and La Center, Washougal, Pine Grove, Battleground, the I-5 corridor, and do a lot of virtual events as well. And these will both be in bilingual and in ASL. Next slide, please. We're also going to be holding 4-week business academies. So we'll do 4 courses, and they also will be cohort-based learning, giving deep dives into industry-specific training. And there'll be personalized business coaching and peer-to-peer collaboration. We're yet to decide exactly what industries these will be, but there will be 4 specific courses, and we'll hold them not just at Fourth Plain Community Commons, but we'll take them out into Clark County as well. Next slide, please. We're also going to provide business support scholarships, so financial assistance to about $15,000 of financial assistance to help small businesses gain certifications, permits, and potentially purchase equipment as well. Next slide, please. We're also providing, moving on with what we're doing this year is providing a Spanish GED through Clark County CDBG at the moment. So we're partnering with PAX Learning Center, and the goal is to get 25 participants through that, all business owners, and also provide individual development accounts for business owners as well. And next slide, please. And the goal here for all of the work that we do is tailored human-centered support. So really leaning into business coaching and mentoring for all of these business owners, and by business owners and coaches that look like themselves. The goal here is to really provide our small business owners across Clark County with some really strong support and mentoring and coaching, not just the technical assistance. Next slide, please. And you'll also note that we really engaged with many different organizations across Clark County, and really pride ourselves on the work that we do, working with lots of different organizations to ensure that our programming isn't just centered in Fourth Plain and is very holistic. It works very closely with a lot of different partners, including the county, the city, and a number of different community-based organizations as well. And that's that. Any questions? Thank you.
Just to confirm, the ask is for, is it 285,000?
That's correct, yes.
It's getting a lot of bang for the buck with all those programs. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Fourth Plain Forward? Okay, we can move on then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is from Micro Enterprises Services of Oregon, Joshua Jacobs.
Great. This looks like a different slideshow than I sent in. Oh, there we go. Yes, well, thank you for having me all. This is my first time presenting to CDBG. If you haven't heard of MISO, Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon, we've been in Oregon for 20 years, but we've actually been in Clark County for 4 years now and have been serving clients there. Next slide, please. So I'll be presenting what we'll be asking for funds for and how we'll be serving the community. So next slide, please. So MISO's mission is to elevate the cultural tapestry of under-resourced and excluded entrepreneurs to build resilience and thriving communities through access to capital, tailored business assistance, and education. Next slide. So all of that encompasses our services and how we serve our clients. So technical assistance is a big piece of that, one-on-one advising with business owners. We also assist clients with their business planning, so all the way from a feasibility study through growth stage in their business. We do a lot of work with brand and marketing. We do loan preparation and access to capital, so grant applications as well. We have anywhere from 2 to 4 educational workshops held online a week, and then we usually do about 1 in person per year or per month, which are more of a deep dive. Oh, sorry. We have the MISO Makers Market as well, which is something that's a vending opportunity for clients. Yeah, so the next, it's okay, we can go to the next slide. So one of the things in our approach to technical assistance is that we meet clients where they are in terms of their skills, resources, knowledge, and ability. So we're customizing the services to meet them exactly where they are and help them reach their goals. So our technical support covers basically every topic of business you could really imagine. So financial education, product pricing, time management, organization, culture building, branding and marketing, networking, partnerships, and preparing for access to capital. So we are really just trying to cover whatever area that they need help with. And our advisors are very experienced in providing the support. Go to the next slide. MISO has 4 unique programs, which is new to our offering from previous years. We just rolled these out in the winter, and we're really excited about how they're turning out. So we have the Emerge program, which is for pre-revenue clients, businesses that are not registered yet and have not made a sale. And we found that a lot of our time was going to these clients, and then a lot of their problems and questions were the same. And so we condensed those needs and those problems into a 6-part self-paced workshop that they can take at their own on their own at any time of day. And there's assignments attached to those, so they get to work through and learn the fundamentals of business and check in with an advisor as they go through that programming. Our Engage and Empower programs are very similar to what we offered in the past, but we have made them now milestone based so that we are working towards goals that are foundational for every business owner. And then clients also have the ability to apply for our Elevate program, which is for advanced stage businesses that are looking for systemization, advanced branding support, and learning to delegate to create a living wage and a thriving wage for themselves. Next slide. So our funding for Clark County would be specifically for one-on-one support, educational workshops, a website building workshop offered to clients that's a full day workshop, and then loan and grant application assistance provided for the businesses seeking capital. Next slide. And we'll reach our goals through our outreach efforts. So we table at local events pretty often, probably once or twice a month, presenting at local conferences, hosting a networking event, partner referrals, and business support, bilingual. And next slide. And really quickly, just highlighting Afina Coleman, who is one of our clients who has taken advantage of all MISO services, including lending. And that's my last slide. Any questions?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Questions for MISO? Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next presentation is from Columbia Nonprofit Housing for River and Main. This is a multifamily housing project. We will have a 5-minute presentation from Grace Dudley and Josh Ollinger with the Vancouver Housing Authority that partners with the Columbia Nonprofit Housing. And then we will also have a financial overview by Fred Dockweiler, who is a consultant that we hire for all of our multifamily projects. Grace, are you available?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, thank you. So as Rebecca said, I'm presenting on behalf of Columbia Nonprofit Housing, who engages with VHA as a development consultant on other projects as well as this one. We are requesting $300,000 of county funds for the construction of River and Main. And the slide here shows a map of where the project is located. Just to orient you, it's as you're coming into town from Highway 14 at the corner of Washougal River Road and Main Street. Next slide, please. So River and Main is a proposed new construction project located in downtown Washougal. It's proposed as a supportive housing project for seniors aged 62 and older under the HUD Section 202 program, which provides funding for the elderly. It's a 40-unit, 4-story elevator-operated building, and half of the units will serve households at 30% of the area median income, and the other half will serve households at 50% of the area median income. Next slide, please. So there is an unprecedented demand for affordable senior housing in Clark County. Seniors are the fastest growing age cohort in Southwest Washington, and as Clark County and Washougal continue to expand, there is concern about the vulnerability of low-income seniors to housing insecurity. Kind of exacerbating this is a wave of public and private investment in Washougal, which could just add pressure to the market and, like I said, increase that vulnerability for housing insecurity. On a project level, the cost of construction continues to increase due to inflation, energy code updates, and stringent building requirements from funders. Financing for affordable housing is also becoming more competitive, and displays of local support are really important to secure state and federal funds. Local financing at the county level is pretty limited, especially for projects outside of Vancouver. Looking at outcomes of the project, River and Main would introduce new units into the affordable housing stock and expand housing choice for older adults in Clark County. The project will create affordable housing alongside the public and private investment in the area, allowing residents to benefit from an amenity-rich area, and it will create dedicated affordable housing units in an area that's likely to see increasing housing costs. On the project level, the housing will also be designed to meet the specific needs of seniors. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about that. As I said, the project site is located in downtown Washougal, which is within walking and rolling distance to a public library, a senior center, parks, and the Lewis and Clark Heritage Trail along the Columbia River. It's also nearby basic services like grocery stores, pharmacies, banks, and places of worship, as well as the C-Tram bus lines with semi-frequent service to allow residents to access Vancouver and other parts of Clark County. The building is specifically designed to serve seniors with universal design and aging in place elements like walkable stairs, accessible units, as well as the provision of gathering spaces like a community room, outdoor patio, and garden beds. The project will also have a full-time service coordinator that will serve residents and allow them to access other services. Next slide, please. So our capital stack includes a mix of federal, state, and local funding, as well as private equity and loans. A bulk of the uses is construction and soft costs, and other uses are outlined here as well as in the application. As you can see, it's a pretty robust capital stack. Next slide, please. Looking at the project timeline, our team is continuing to apply for various funding sources, and we expect to have all funding secured in January or February of 2026. Construction would start in July 2026 with a 13-month construction period, and we expect 100% lease up by May of 2028. Are there any questions about the project? I'm willing to dive into any areas.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The consultant is working to get online. They're traveling, so they should be here in just a minute or two. So if there's no questions, maybe we just take a very short break until he's online, and then we can move forward.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hello?
Hi, Fred, is that you?
It is me. How
Fantastic.
are
We
you?
are ready for your presentation on the River and Main financial overview.
All right. Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm not on camera. I'm remote today, so apologies for that. But I'll jump right in here. So River and Main, this is a 40-unit to be constructed affordable housing project located in Washougal. It will target residents 62 and older. And the request is from the Columbia Nonprofit Housing. They are the sponsor. $300,000 in county home funds to finance a project that's going to cost, at least at the moment, the estimated cost is just over $22 million. This project has a number of financing sources, not the least of which is future 9% low-income housing tax credit equity, a $2 million federal home loan bank that's being requested, some state CHIP funds, housing trust fund monies that have been requested and applied for. And then really what provides the rental subsidy for the project is a HUD 202 PRAC, which is a project rental assistance contract. So, obviously the home funds from the county show support for the project for all of these various applications that are in process. I'm assuming Grace will join us in the room there and can talk about the status of some of those. But I've reviewed the project. It targets very low income senior residents between 0 and 50% of area median income. I looked at the analysis that was provided. I went through the rents, I went through the expenses. These projects, these PRAC projects, these 202 projects for seniors are essentially established and set up to cover operating costs. So there's not a lot, if any, residual cash flow that stems from these. But obviously there's a big need in Washougal. I think the project itself fits the area very well. And other than, getting some updates, I've provided Rebecca, and I'm not sure if the rest of the board has my narrative and the Excel spreadsheet, but this all looks, to sort of fit this type of project. And certainly we have a sponsor that has not only the wherewithal, but acumen to complete it. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Great, thank you, Ward. Any questions on River and Main? All right, thank you. We can continue forward then.
Okay. Should I stay on, or do you want me to drop, or what would be best?
Fred, I think we're good. So you do not have to stay on and listen to the next presentations, but you're always welcome to if you'd like.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you all for the opportunity. And Rebecca, I'll circle back with you sometime after this meeting.
Thanks, Fred.
Take care.
Our next presentation is from the Vancouver Housing Authority for River Creek Commons, Joshua Ollinger.
Oh, good morning. My name is Joshua Ollinger. I'm the development manager for the Vancouver Housing Authority and appreciate this opportunity. Rebecca, next slide. Great. So VHA provides opportunities to folks that are experiencing housing barriers while honoring their personal dignity and maintaining public trust. We are the largest provider of affordable housing in Clark County with currently almost 4,000 units. Next slide. So a little background of this project. This project kind of came about from two different avenues. There was a local housing need in Battleground, as Clark County is one of the fastest growing counties in Washington. Battleground is seeing an influx of new residents, while also having a housing stock that's primarily focused on single family housing. So there's a need for more multifamily and affordable housing to really address this kind of growing shortage of housing stock in the area. Additionally, VHA was approached with an opportunity to buy a wonderful parcel of land that's centrally located in Battleground. You can see it's just a couple blocks from the main street. And it also backs up along a creek, so it's a really beautiful lot that we were happy to purchase. Additionally, we have local partnerships in the area for this project. Peace Northwest, which is a nonprofit focused on serving individuals and families with experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then also the Battleground Education Foundation, which is really the nonprofit and supportive services arm of the Battleground School District. So both of these nonprofit organizations will be referring their clients to this project. Next slide. Great. And the project itself is a 4-story elevator operated building. There are currently 100 units, primarily with smaller units as to meet, again, that local need for smaller, more affordable housing units. The units are primarily focused on serving folks in the workforce, so serving households earning 60 to 50% of the area median income. That being said, there are 12 units designed to support folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as 16 units for households exiting homelessness. And those two populations, we understand, will have additional need for subsidies. So we are also anticipating bringing rental assistance demonstration, RAD, a form of vouchers to this property to ensure that these households don't have to pay any more than 30% of their income towards rent. Next slide, please. So the building itself, outside the building, there's a playground, walking trails, a dog run area, a patio. Within the building, there's a community room, a dog wash station, storage lockers, bicycle room, and then as well as computers and meeting rooms. There's also on-site staffing, including a supportive service coordinator to assist residents with everything from financial needs to getting connected with benefit programs, as well as just ensuring that residents are able to meet their activities of daily living. Additionally, the building is fully electric with sustainable features such as a high efficiency hot water system, as well as a PV solar system on the roof that will help reduce operational costs and help us bring that money, spend that money more on staffing to ensure that the residents are, that this project is really promoting their health and well-being. Next slide, please. So the sources and uses, it's a 4% LIHTC bonded funded project. So that's the primary capital for the project. Additionally, Housing Trust Fund. There's quite a bit of VHA funds in this project as well. And then you can see I've highlighted the home funds as well. We are requesting 400,000, which is an additional request to the previous awards of that we received for this project in 2022 and 2024. And this is primarily due to, that's it. All right, well, thank you so much for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Questions for Weaver Creek Commons project? Right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on.
This is Tracy from La Center. I do have a question. I didn't see what the match was again, the fund request and the match. Thank you.
Yeah, so the project total cost is 41 million. We are requesting during this funding cycle 400,000, and VHA itself is putting in close to 5 million for this project.
And it's a 15-month project, so it's going to extend. It's going to go. Is it going to start this year? Right here, right there, June. Thank you. I know you didn't get to that yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? thank you again.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll move on.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to our tenant-based rental assistance programs. First, we're going to go over an overview of tenant-based rental assistance. All of our programs are required to follow a rapid rehousing model. And so that's why we want to do this presentation, one presentation for you, and then we'll kind of break it down into each of the applications. The Clark County's tenant-based rental assistance program operates on a calendar year with some flexibility. Sometimes, an agency may need an extra month to spend out their previous allocation, but for the most part, it's a January through December program year. They use a rapid rehousing program model, which really brings in the best practices for rate of success. It's cost effective, and it aligns with the Washington State Strategic Plan to End Homelessness. The rapid rehousing model and tenant-based rental assistance provide both rent and supportive services. Home funds are used for the rent assistance, deposits, and utility assistance, and the CDBG funds that are attached provide the housing case management and supportive services. The program allows for up to 24 months of assistance. That's a HUD requirement. And referrals come through the Housing Solutions Center, just like all of our other rental assistance programs, except for the YWCA. The YWCA provides victim services, and those agencies are exempt from using coordinated entry services per HUD. So they actually have their own entry into their shelter and to their housing services. So what is rapid rehousing? We talk about this term pretty regularly. Rapid rehousing is a housing with supports intervention designed to help individuals and families quickly exit literal homelessness and return to permanent housing. Literal homelessness is either living in a shelter, a hotel paid by someone other than the household, or in a place not meant for human habitation, or it also includes persons fleeing domestic violence situations. Assistance is offered without preconditions, so they do not have to be housing ready to enter into a rapid rehousing program. And then resources and services are provided that are tailored to the unique needs of the household. So we work for what their goals are to become stably housed and use those goals to help them meet those goals to then become stable. Rapid rehousing has 3 core components, but it's not a requirement that a household use them all, but these all are brought into the housing case management services. First is housing identification, then rent and move-in assistance, and then case management and services. Those are the supports. And we're going to go over each of those a little bit more in depth. The first is our housing identification. This is where all of the programs recruit landlords to provide housing opportunities for individuals and families experiencing homelessness. They address potential barriers to landlord participation, such as concerns about short-term nature of rental assistance and tenant qualifications. They also work to assist households to find and secure appropriate rental housing for the size of their household and their income. The second component is rent and move-in assistance. This is where the program provides financial assistance to help with those move-in costs, deposits, and rental and or utility assistance necessary to allow households to move immediately out of homelessness and stabilize into permanent housing. The third component is case management and supports. These services help households identify and select among a various permanent housing options based on their unique needs, preferences, and financial resources. That's why it's called tenant-based rental assistance. Households address, or the programs help the households address issues that may impede access to housing, such as credit history, arrears, any legal issues, so that they can get into housing in the private landlord market. The program helps households navigate and negotiate manageable and appropriate lease agreements with landlords, make appropriate and time-limited services and supports available to the households to allow them to stabilize quickly in permanent housing. The program will monitor participants' housing stability and be available to resolve crises at a minimum during the time they're in the rapid rehousing program. And oftentimes they will have access to additional supports with case managers after the program has ended. The program also provides or assists the household with connection to resources that help them improve their safety and well-being and achieve their long-term goals. This includes providing or ensuring that the household has access to resources related to benefits, employment, community-based services, if it's needed, if that's what they're looking for, so that they can really sustain rent payments independently when the rental assistance ends. And the program will ensure that services provided are client-directed, respectful of individuals' right to self-determination, and voluntary. Per HUD, we cannot require participation in self-sufficiency programs, but we do intense case management to encourage that participation. So that is just a quick overview of the rapid rehousing program. Next, we will go into each of the applications, and we have the staff from each of the agencies available to answer any questions. The first program is Janus Youth. Janus Youth serves youth ages 18 to 25. Their application proposes to serve 20 households. They have requested $169,350 of home funds, which will come with an additional $45,000 of CDBG funds. The Janus program has been operating a TBRA program since 2015, so they have several years of experience. In 2024, they operated the program from January through December. They proposed to serve 25 households and actually served 24 households. If there are any questions, I believe Kiva or Scott might be online to answer them. Not hearing any from the board, I'll move on to the next program. Share is requesting in their proposal $287,500 of home funds, which will come with it $75,000 of CDBG funds. They serve families and individuals. They're proposing to serve 15 households. The program they have been operating a TBRA program since 2005, and their last program year was 2024 was January through January. So they just finished the end of this last month. They proposed to serve 15 households, and they actually served 20 households. Any questions? All right, moving on to YWCA. This is our third and final TBRA request this year. YWCA serves domestic violence survivors. They are proposing to serve 12 households with $276,000 of home funds, which will come with it $72,000 of CDBG funds. They just finished their first award. It took them a little longer to get the program up and running. Their program ran from November of 2022 through December of 2024. They are now into their second award that just started in January. The first award, they proposed to serve 12 households, and they actually served 8 households. Any questions about the YWCA TBRA program? Not hearing any questions, that concludes our presentations for the 2025 CDBG and home applications. We can move on to the next item on the agenda.
Great, thank you very much. We will go ahead and move forward after these. So next item on the agenda is going to be program updates and contingency projects. So Ms. Royce, we'll go back over to you for that.
Yes. So when we were doing some review and working on our timeliness update with HUD, we found that some other jurisdictions actually include contingency projects in their application process. So we'll be providing and asking the board to approve an update to the Urban County Policy Board application and funding guidelines at our March meeting to essentially just include in adding a contingency application per each of our categories to include in the action plan. So this would end up being a project that if another one doesn't go through, then we would be able to quickly move forward with a new project because it would have already gone through the public comment period required for all of our processes. So it would just basically be a back burner project that we would have on there. So we'll be bringing forth an actual policy for the board to adopt at the March meeting. It won't affect the applications this round, so we can immediately put it into effect with the March recommendations.
Great, thank you. Okay. Is that it for this portion?
That is it for program.
Okay, we'll move on to other reports. Just a reminder to the board that your scores are due in Neighborly, the Neighborly app by March 3rd. So if we can get those in before then, that'd be great. And then we'll go ahead and move on to public comment. So is there anybody in person or online who wishes to make public comment? More call for public comment. All right, if there's nobody online for public comment, we can go ahead and move forward, which is adjournment. Okay. Our next meeting is Monday, March 10th at 9:30 right here. We'll be doing the award recommendations. So please be in attendance for that. But if there's nothing else, then this meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, that well, and Councilman really does word the applications.
Again.